John, welcome back on the show. People who haven't listened to this one or seen you around wouldn't know we did an episode remotely.
We did. Yeah,
We did?
quite a while ago.
But now we're back in a better location and even better. So I've got you on the show because I believe you're an expert. You help people with strategy, marketing, really getting down to what is important when you're making marketing decisions. But yeah, let people know what makes you an expert in your field. Do you think, I know it's hard to talk about yourself, but do you have case studies or examples right off the bat?
Yeah, I do. I think the key takeaway here is I've worked for big, small business and all the way down the supply vertical within the marketing industry. So what that means is like I've worked as a client in an ad agency and then throughout the vertical, i.e. making the ads, getting them on TV, distributing them, seeing how they're made and broadcast. Like example, I've been there when they've done a voice dub of a Head and Shoulders ad. So we get the material from Singapore. I'm in there in the booth, and the lady's doing the voiceover and recording that. So that was for a big brand. I've done things like QAing or quality assurance on TV ads, for example. So one of my previous jobs is working for a media distribution agency. Sounds boring, right? But basically, I had to watch TV ads all day and look at print ads and then say if they're in the right format or not for technical standards before they went to air. So, I saw hundreds, probably thousands of ads, right? And then I've done other things like just yesterday, implementing Salesforce in a tech startup in Melbourne who just raised, a couple of $1 million of funding. So that's like a sales operation thing, right? So I think why I'm an expert is I've done so much work in everything that when you have that deeper understanding of how everything works, you're wiser in terms of looking at it in the right perspective. And, when you're just sort of box hold in one little specialty area, you don't see the bigger picture.
Yeah, definitely. Like it's dangerous to just be the one expert in one thing and not taking into consideration other channels and other ways that will be effective. So if you're looking after a Head and Shoulders campaign, for example, they're not just doing the TVC.
No.
They're going to do billboard. They're going to run, internet ads over Google or Facebook. So understanding that from the top level and then going down gives you practical application, right?
Yeah, it does. And I think, also an appreciation for tactical execution and the importance of that. And, a lot of big businesses kind of can get stuck in the strategy planning clouds. And, I posted about this the other day on social media. I'm like, really, nothing has any value to the business until it's executed and done. And even then, it can be the wrong thing to do. But there's no value in those meetings, those discussions, the planning, the strategy documents. Yeah, great. It won't grow your business and won't have any effect until you do something, right? So I think having that appreciation for tactical execution is really critical. And if you haven't done that, you really don't know what you're talking about.
Do you think there's a lot of people that just overplan, overthink, overanalyze, over data and then don't do? So your best plans are great, but they're not worth anything without action?
Yeah, look, I think, and I call them sort of the cake decorator types, right? There's some marketers out there who, instead of worrying about what's in the cake, where it's sold, who's talking about the cake, how many layers it has, what's in it, is it good, do people like it? Is there a sales promotion? How much does it cost? What's your pricing model? They get obsessed with just decorating the icing on the cake, right? Oh, what color are we going to do this month? What's the font, they can just get really caught up and prioritizing that too much rather than the bigger picture and the depth of everything else that's going into selling the cake, for example.
Well, that's a classic example of like the graphic designer building your website and the marketer building your website, right?
Yeah, big difference. Yeah. So graphic designer will be like, colors and charts. And I'm not discounting that. It's, kind of important, but it's only important if it creates a distinctiveness, if that then resonates with the customer, with the market that you're targeting, right? Is that branding unique compared to everybody else? Or is it just like a template built, It has no value until it has market value. And then it can be measured.
Because you can make the most beautiful thing in the world. You can make the most beautiful product. Like, take for example, I've just bought a Samsung S21 and they make beautiful phones. They put a whole bunch of effort.
Are they sponsoring this episode?
They're not sponsoring it. If they want to reach out to me, they can. But the funny thing is, I then go and put this big ass case on it, and they've spent months on their design.
Yeah.
if they maybe understood that people are going to whack a big case on it and put more of that effort into the functionality. I mean, it's a beautiful phone, don't get me wrong. But
Yeah, I mean, and that's a good segue into like, why is Apple so popular? Apple phones, right? You can make the mistake of looking, oh, well, it's because that branding campaign, and in 1984, oh no, it's because that really cool Think Different campaign, right? And as marketers from afar, we can kind of look at what's the most visible thing that they've done and make the assumption that that thing led to their success, right? But what you don't see is like the UI, right? It doesn't make things simple. If you've ever had to transfer devices on between Apple devices, right? It's a pretty seamless process, right? You want to get a new Apple Mac and transfer everything from your last one to this one, bang, easy. And they create this ecosystem with network effects, right? A lot of people don't understand that and the value in that. And there's this really good this phrase, which is like, the best marketing doesn't feel like marketing. And that's extremely true. There's a lot of hidden things underneath that I specialize in, by the way. And advertising and the visual sort of side of things is just one small component of the deeper iceberg.
We'll get into those specializations, but I want to touch on great marketing is marketing that doesn't feel like marketing.
Yep.
One of my first lecturers, Peter Wagstaff, he said I think it was the first ever lecture, he was like, the funny thing is marketing itself has an image problem when its whole job is to improve the image of a product or brand or company. So people don't like being marketed or sold to. But how do we as marketers get around that problem? By implementing what you just said in terms of making good marketing not feel like marketing.
Yeah, look, and this comes from the thing that a lot of small and large businesses miss, which is deep customer insight, right? And that comes from research. It comes from, having a brain. The more experience you get, you kind of already know what's going on, right? But as a junior marketer, you won't know. Or if you're a junior business, you won't have done research before. So you're going into this market and you don't really know why people are buying your product. Until you find out the why, it can be really problematic. So the best businesses, and Apple, by the way, have spent more on market research than any other company in the world, ever. Billions and billions and billions, tens of billions, hundreds of billions on market research.
I want to talk, I'm going to talk right at the camera here if you're watching along. The marketing student who doesn't like quantitative, who doesn't like the statistics, who I was one of those.
Yeah.
I was one of those. And I was talking.
It can be pretty boring, right?
It can be. And as marketers, we either have done a couple units in accounting because that's what and we go away, we're going, I'm not doing numbers ever again.
Yeah, I hate numbers, right?
I hate numbers. But numbers are sexy. Right, numbers are what make decisions. Please
it's
touch
what gets
on
you promoted. You'll reach this level in marketing as well, which you won't get respect. Right, businesses are there to make money. If you're trying to glorify some kind of like purpose, like we're selling products to change the world. Yeah, great. But at the end of the day, you don't have a business if it's not profitable. Right, you have competitive factors always trying to take you down from other competitors. Right, so if you're not making profit, you don't have a company. You won't survive. So if you are disconnected from your ability to look at those figures, to affect those figures, right, you're not going to get any respect. Investors, they fund the business, right? Whether it's the bank or private investors, they then delegate that governance responsibility to a board of directors. They then implement and hire, non-executive directors or other directors below that and managers to execute the functions of the business, right? Ultimately, you're accountable to the investor, right? Through a couple of layers of governance, right? Whether you're a small or large business, the same kind of thing, just more compressed at the top. So, if you're not there making money, you can't at least try and prove things are working, then you're not going to get any respect.
So let's see how do numbers affect decisions? I know that's a broad ass question, but how do you gather a marketing insight from data, from research, from quantitative, and a mixture of qualitative? You need both.
Yeah. Secondary, primary research. Yeah. Looking at figures will only get you so far because it's retrospective. You're looking at what's already happened in the past, right? But I mean, from a marketing perspective, what you're trying to do is increase revenue, and this is my specialty, and probably why we're talking today is like identifying those things that produce sales revenue, right? That's what you want to do in a business. I can push out, design 50 ads and put them on social media and post them. Like, yeah, hoo-ha, great. Anyone can do that. Affecting the revenue figures of the business is quite difficult. It's always hard because you've got those negative pressures. You've got diminishing laws of return on a lot of your marketing activity, right? So, maybe that social post does really well, and then you can't keep reusing that, right? It's stale. So you're going to do it again and again and again. So it's very resource intensive. And for that reason, coming back to your question about figures, you always got a constraint on your budget in marketing. Like, there's like 48 different channels of things that I could invest in. Like, I want to do everything, but okay, let's focus. What are the top 3 things you want to do? So what are those financial returns? Why are you doing them? If it works really well, where will we see the positive financial effect of those things? Is it a short-term effect? Is it a long-term thing? And then being really pragmatic about measuring those things as you execute and then attributing that back to sales revenue generation.
Yeah. And that's always the thing that I've respected about you. I think we even met, I don't know if you even remember, I think we met because I made a cold call to you.
You did?
Yes. back in my day.
I think it was a cold LinkedIn, and then it led to a cold call. And then, we met for a discussion. Where was that? In Oakley, I think it was.
Oakley.
Yes.
Yeah. But you've always respected sales.
Yes.
You've always respected my marketing effort is to drive markets and to drive sales. And where do you see the benefit of having a sales mindset when it comes to running a marketing campaign, when it comes to thinking of branding, when it comes to doing the fun stuff? Where does having a mindset in sales advantage a business?
I think, mindset in sales means you're focused on the outcome from all these activities, right, that are upstream. So, you can get caught on what I call an output trap, which is just like doing things and being busy and doing them, right? And this is very symptomatic in businesses, big and small, right? Let's post. We've got to post on social media every day. We've got to do this every day. Why? Is it affecting sales or not? Otherwise, what are you doing? You're wasting your time. You've got a massive opportunity cost there of your time and resources. So, having that sales mindset makes you focus in your marketing and strategy to be, okay, well, at the end result of this, we want people to buy. There's no use in any marketing if they don't buy at the end, right? Maybe that it takes a while for them to buy or not, right? Through a branding thing, or like you are building a personal brand in social media. It's a slow burn thing, and you'll get this non-linear sort of uptick, which, could take years, right? But, if you're not focused on, okay, well, I'm doing that. Why am I building my following? Because I can leverage their data, because I know mathematically, 1 in 100 will be in market, in this sales cycle. So that's why I'm investing in it. And I'm in there for the long road. A lot of content strategies like that, right?
I want to touch on this, and I'm going to brag a little bit here. I just had a TikTok video go to 1.7 million
Oh, congrats.
views. Now, this video has increased my following from 1,800 to, last night I checked it, 2,555.
It's good.
Big bump. Not as big as you think from a 1.7 million.
So you're dancing to
video.
the Macarena or something?
I wasn't doing dancing. I basically got a photo of my cat. Cut a long story short, our neighbours were fantastic. They told us they'd put out rat poison. I found out through this post a lot of people don't tell their neighbours to do that.
Wow.
And basically we've had to keep Ross inside. And he loves going outside. He's a roaming cat. So he's meowing. Anyway, I took a photo of him one day and he's clutching against the fly wire, hanging on, looking all sad. And then what I did was I took that photo, I zoomed it in, slowly on a screen record, and then the music playing underneath is Hello Darkness, My Old Friend by Simon and Garfunkel.
Okay.
And then it's like Ross can't go outside because the neighbours put out rat poison.
And it went viral. Wow.
1.7 as of this morning.
So it's very emotional, isn't it?
Emotional.
And I think maybe the combination of the music.
Music, humour, all of that. The question people from a marketing perspective asked me was, but what now?
So what, right?
So what? 1.7 million, great.
And what's your response to that?
My response to that is, it's not about the video. It's about what I do after that video. Do I now, because it's my personal page, the next video I make about me, will those people, all of those 1.7 million people care about me? No, they won't. But will a percentage of the people that followed me care about me? They will. I'm predicting a drop-off of maybe 100 people when they first see my face and not my cat's face. I'm not that ugly, but not that ugly, hopefully. But that's the thing. That's the thing is it's this following. So what?
It's mathematics, really.
Yeah.
Like we know percentage-wise, like what, maybe 5 or 6 of them are going to Google. Who is this Tim Binland guy? Oh, what does he do? Oh, he does podcasting. Oh, I know someone that's doing, in that market. Oh, connect Tim with that. This guy is pretty awesome at social media, right? Like we know with playing math, and you know this in sales as well, right? Like, you make 100 cold calls. One of them generally is going to be in market, right?
Yeah.
You just have to dial enough and play the math. So, that's my response to that, is that you're going to get some kind of mathematical percentage of that following going to talk about you or one of the podcasts or something like that.
Yeah, no, exactly. I predict, maybe 10 of those people, but as long as, one is greater than 0, as long as a couple of those people vibe with what I'm doing, like I've just finished a studio setup, so it's a great, in terms of context of TikTok, people like seeing development of people. Mm-hmm. They like seeing story time. They like seeing day in a life. They like seeing, oh, this person's like renovated their apartment from looking like a squalor to amazing. They like the before and after stuff.
Yeah. So you're going to get some butt implants and, make your lips bigger.
Kylie Jenner stuff.
I'll call you Kardashian after this.
I'll be an influencer in no time. No, I really like the idea because I've got shots of my office. It's empty. And then just like panning to now it looks like we've got bookshelves.
Yeah, like progression, right? And I suppose, that's what I do is growth. Like, where do we start? Where do we want to go?
Into that,
yeah. And you want to sell that sort of journey, right? And like we always say, like, show, don't tell. I was talking to you before about that. Like, okay, don't tell me what you're going to do. Like, show me. And, that's why I'm saying, like, there's not much use in these kind of planning days, these workshops, all this kind of stuff. Like, yeah, great. But you got to put the rubber to the road and drive a car, right? And go somewhere. That's the whole point. So, yeah.
And speak to the notion that, people build funnels, people build websites to get excited. They launch their product. They're like, it's going to kick the market's butt. Mm. But speak to the fact that maybe the first time you launch something won't be the most successful.
Yeah, crickets, right? Yeah, it happens a lot. High expectations, and sometimes you can deprioritize the promotional side of things. Like content marketing is a great example of that. Like we always use like Pareto's 80-20 rule for that. So you should be spending like 80% of your time promoting the content, right? And 20% producing. A lot of other people get it around the wrong way. They spend all their time producing it, and then when it comes to promoting it and the hard yakka, right, the expensive part of it, allocate no resources, and they go, oh, it didn't work, didn't go viral.
I'll put my hand up and say I've been guilty of that.
Everyone has.
I've produced 54, 55 episodes of live. This is probably episode 56. I haven't ran a single ad. Oh, no, that's a lie. I haven't ran a single ad on good content. I ran one that was just lazily put together because I was like, all right, I need to start getting traffic to this thing. I'm putting time and effort. It wasn't really well thought out. I was like, oh, this is a great clip. I'll just run this. And it got a little bit of traction. But I haven't spent the 20% of time, apart from putting organic content. I've done that a lot, of course. Yep. But I haven't put paid behind this yet.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, this comes back to, maybe some small business people that are listening, right? Every business is like this. You've got a resource constraint, right? And that means you have to be really, really killer with your prioritization and your strategy behind that, right? What are you trying to achieve, right? Let's diagnose the problem. And getting an independent view on that is really critical. So if I'm a small business person, I've got, a small budget and I need quick wins, right? What happens is in desperation, they'll go for the silver bullet sort of proposition, right? They'll go to an agency that goes, oh yeah, everyone's doing this. TikTok, SEO, Google, it's this or whatever. Yeah, cool. But that's because that's what they sell. That's what they're going to recommend, right? I think getting that sort of core independent perspective is what I'm really good at, and going, actually, let's just wait a minute. What are you trying to achieve? What's your goals? What's your budget? Okay, well, with that budget, we can maybe prioritize these things, and we're going to do it for this period of time. And these are the things that we're going to measure. We're going to be really pragmatic about whether that's like giving us financial payback or not, and what time period.
Can we talk for an example of that, maybe from a small to medium perspective of where you've actually implemented these thoughts and processes and hang on. Have you looked at the data? Have you done this? Have you done that? Okay, you want to do TikTok, but is Instagram Reels, maybe. You know, are you really a dancing mortgage broker? Like,
Yeah. It's like we call it shiny object syndrome, right?
Shiny
like,
objects. Yeah.
Everyone wants like the newest, latest thing, and
Yeah.
it's pretty natural, right? Get on the bandwagon. It's like this sort of FOMO effect. Like, let's go on TikTok before organic reach gets curtailed by the algorithm, right? And true. There's some truth to that, sure. But is your market on TikTok? Is the first question I would ask. Like, and if so, how many of them? How big is it in Australia? Most people can't answer those kind of questions. So, look, asking those hard questions, it all stems from knowing your market and knowing how to use different vehicles to target that market.
So a business that you've worked with, if you can name them.
Sure.
What were those hard questions you asked them? And then what were the things that they did on the back end that then had a positive result on bottom line impact?
Where do I start? There's so many. Well, look, I was working with a... how many can I mention? Okay, let's just think.
Just the ones you can legally say.
Yeah, that's
because I know you've worked with some Silicon Valley startups and stuff. And anyway.
Yeah, okay. Well, let's use Silicon Valley startup. So this is back in 2017. I was living in San Francisco, working in what I call a growth role. Marketing is a dirty word in Silicon Valley, so it's been rebranded to growth. All that means
it's like the business development manager, the salesman being called a business development manager.
Yeah, but I mean, there is some truth in that role. If you want to define it, I think there's a good thing to talk about. Really, is that when people think marketing, they instantly think marketing communications, right? Promotion, which is one small part of marketing. And then within that, they think immediately advertising. And this is a cultural thing. Ad agencies used to be quite powerful. Power brokers back in the day. They aren't anymore.
The Don Drapers.
Yeah. Media was less fragmented. It was very concentrated. So whoever controlled access to that, was king. We didn't have the internet. We didn't have comparison websites. Completely different ballgame. And I think that legacy mentality is still there. So if you asked like a small business owner, what should I do? They're like, oh, well, let's advertise in Google. Let's advertise here. Let's advertise there. That's the first thing they're going to think about. So with Silicon Valley and the growth role that I was in, it's more, okay, how do we grow this business? Okay, we need to get more users. This is a website-based SaaS company, right? Software as a service. It is in the building sector. So it was a building broking service where you would list people who are, offering building services for houses, renovation, that kind of thing, big projects. And we would match them with people who are looking for the best, and they call them contractors over there, not tradies. The best contractor for the area. 3 people would sort of quote, would meet them in the middle, and then we would clip the ticket of that transaction. So that was the model. So from a growth perspective, I was trying to get demand, more people looking for building services and renovations. And then on the other side, I was trying to get more people as contractors to be in there and listed on the marketplace, right? So we're going to catch-22. You can't have more than one or the other. You're going to do both. And marketplace is very resource intensive because of that. But growth is like, okay, what's the outcome? Coming back to financials, like the outcome in business is to earn more sales revenue, to get more customers, to sell them more, right? More often, to get more money. That's it. Everything else filters down from that sort of pretty frank realization in business, right? So if you're not doing that, like there's not much point to marketing. So in growth, we kind of look at the product and how that product resonates, how it attracts more people, the onboarding process, how to get that quick win, the experience. So it has product elements and also pricing. There's promotional side of that. There's distribution, strategic partnerships would be making with other sites that had our target market. Be working with the sales team. It's quite wide ranging, but ultimately you're going after that growth goal, which is user growth and usability. So that's the big difference.
Yeah. What are small to medium business? So you're helping the medium, and you still have some small ones that you do.
Yeah, I specifically work in privately owned businesses, right? Yeah. So I don't work in corporate where it's a public company and shareholders and everything. It's normally I have a very direct line to the owners of the business, right? And generally, to be more specific, those people I report to have a direct financial interest in the company, whether they're the owner with an equity stake or they're a small business owner with 100% stake in the business. That's what I specialize in.
So what are the questions? Because all good research that develops good insight that then impacts decisions start with good questions. So what are the good questions that these type of business owners should be asking themselves, particularly in Australia where it's a service-based economy.
Yeah, that's the other thing. I only work in services too.
Yeah.
So I don't do products.
That's
no
why I
e-com.
asked.
Yeah. So privately owned service sector businesses. Yeah, look, questions they should be asking themselves is like the hard questions. So like, what resources do you have, right? To play with? What are your goals? Where are you trying to get to? Okay, let's be specific about that. What are the determinants that maybe, you want to grow? Yeah, everyone wants to grow, obviously, but like by how much and when? And do you have a realistic budget to put against that? The other hard question is, do you have capability? A lot of, especially small businesses, are trying to do everything. And the problem with that is that you don't really know what you're doing and you're not a specialist in those roles. And the trade-off is that, yeah, great, I don't have a lot of money, so I can't hire these specialists altogether because I can't afford it. So often, that's a problem. Let's focus on one and really focus on investing into one area instead of like 14 trying to do everything yourself. So
Yeah, exactly. And then what are the things that you've learnt from running big brand TVC, big budget, that has filtered down into, I've got this big level thinking into this small to medium service-based space?
yeah, I think there's a huge difference, and people make the mistake between trying to do what a big brand does as a small brand, right? And that's a really dangerous thing to do. And people make the mistake of like by default looking at like what's the most visible thing that company's doing. The most visible thing I can see that big brand's doing is they're advertising. Look, they're here, they're there, they're on TV. I got to be on TV as well, right? And that's the assumption. What they don't see is underneath that facade is everything else that's going on. For example, Commonwealth Bank, right? Big bank in Australia, multi-billion-dollar company. Was it 300 billion?
They're the one people say they should all invest in for the long term.
Yeah, great. So like I could make the mistake as someone.
Also, sorry, just take your own investment advice. I wasn't giving anyone investment advice there.
Yeah. Just a disclaimer.
Just a disclaimer. Alarm bells.
Do your own research.
Yeah.
Okay, so in terms of Commonwealth Bank, I could look at their ads. Really emotive ads on TV, and look, they're everywhere. They're bank branches. What you don't see is that they bought. Is it Aussie Home Loans? One of those.
They did buy Aussie Home Loans.
So they sell most of their products like indirectly through affiliate networks, right, of resellers who resell their products. In small business, coming back to your question, a lot of people ignore their referral networks, ignore creating an affiliate program, ignore outsourcing some of their sales to other people that have that same target. And I use the tradie example, right? Like tradies are really good at this. They got a plumber, they got a chippy friend, they got another friend that does concreting, whatever. They're all cross-referring business to each other. So they go on a job, and then they do a good job, and the homeowner goes, I actually need help with my kitchen. I'll call my kitchen guy, the chippy guy. He'll help you out. So that's a really basic example of like what a referral network is. And coming back to the difference between marketing or comms and then real marketing is things like this. Strategic partnerships. Maybe it's really deep knowledge of the customer. Maybe it's like your core competency about handling the sales objections better than everybody else, right? Having that knowledge is really valuable asset. So there's all these things underneath the facade of the most visible things that we see that are generally the cause for a lot of growth.
Yeah. Things that excite me in that space are joint ventures.
Yeah.
Joint ventures are really, really cool things that, if done properly, can go really well. I help people go from podcast concept, podcast reality in an afternoon, but there's scope in there for me to do more video and work with video agencies and producers and that kind of thing. So joint venturing with people that you think are maybe not your competition or even not even in the right market, you can find a pairing there that works really well. Do you have an example of a joint venture that you've done?
Yeah, sure. Again, working for a tech startup in Melbourne, where we are right now. Just did us across there.
Marvel Stadium's over there.
Yeah, like setting up strategic partnership for them. So they are a tech company that sell e-commerce customization software, right? What I was doing last couple of months was calling every agency and setting up meetings around the world, mostly in North America, and having meetings with them and going, hey, like this is what our software does. We get requests for people to rebuild their website. So I was talking to all the Shopify Plus agencies around the world and striking up, starting that relationship and going, hey, this is what we can do. We can refer you work this way. And then, maybe you can use our tool as a preferred sort of tool when you're building these kind of concepts.
The thing that I love about that is it inspires action. It doesn't demand action. Like if you're making a cold call to someone, hey, use my software, versus website company I have a partner with integrates this software into the package and it's an add-on that actually would make you more sales or more enjoyment of the product, a lot easier sell than buy my stuff.
Yeah, look, and that comes down to your value proposition. Like, what's the value exchange? If you're in a relationship and this is business, right? 101. Like, I've got this thing to offer. Yeah, but what do I get in return? That's the question. Like, what are you going to do for me? The contra deals are really big in small business, right? And that comes down to when you're selling your product. Like, okay, well, yeah, great, it does this and does that, but why? Why is that valuable to me? Tell me. And you know this from sales, right? You don't talk about your product. You talk about, what problem does that person have? Can my product solve that problem? And this is how it can solve the problem. We've done it before. Talk to this person. Look at this example. Look at this case study. Again, show, don't tell.
Can you develop more on getting to the problem for someone? Like if you're in a sales process and actually revealing the problem?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you can ask leading questions, right? But if you're more experienced with sales, you kind of know what the problems are and how your product can solve it, right? But I mean, I do this with when businesses are starting out, like, and this happens all the time. What was it? A printing company yesterday wanted to do this print product, service offering, and then the starting point is like, okay, they got money, but like they don't know how to execute. They don't have a strategy. So one of the first things I do is like, okay, well, tell me about your product. So let's define how that feature can provide value via benefits to that person or reduce costs for that person. And, we don't want to just talk about monetary costs, which is, reflected in the price. And we don't just want to talk about functional benefits. We want to talk about emotional benefits. We want to talk about, taking away mental anguish, opportunity cost, to save you time, for example, like all those kind of elements. So one of the core things I do with clients is break down their value prop for their product and their bigger service offering, and I think, you need to be really clear about what that is. Then you use that to manifest itself in language when you're talking to sales, when you're using your marketing, and in all your comms.
All right. I want to have this section of the podcast be pitch my product. So pitch my product. You come on the show. People are listening. If you've been listening for 30 minutes, you obviously like what John's saying or what I'm saying. So I'm going to give you Hybrancy is the baby you're working on at the moment.
Yeah, the never-ending baby.
Never-ending baby. Tell me about Hybrancy.
Yeah, so look, I've been thinking about this for a while. As I said, I've worked throughout the whole vertical. So what was missing in the market is really something that connects that whole process together and gives business owners and people with direct financial interest in the company a really independent view of like how to go about growing and getting sales revenue, right? And what happens is I mentioned some of the biases in the market. Like you got ad agencies over there pushing this, you've got digital agencies pushing that. You've got a lot of people with vested interests that aren't aligned with the outcome, which is to get sales revenue, right? Even employees inside the business. So what I wanted is like, how do I get rid of a lot of that complexity and have a single point of truth? And it starts with diagnosis. What's the problem? Where you want to go to? Formulating strategy around that looks at the problem independently, and then recommending things that you can invest in, and then help with executing them tactically, which is where a lot of this falls over, right? Because it's complex and you need specialists to do that. And then, okay, well, we've done what did it do and the measurement around that, and feeding that back around the cycle, back to diagnosis, strategy planning, tactical execution, measurement, back around again. And you complete these cycles, and it's called a growth loop, right? And if you do that, you get better, and it's a continual self-improvement process. So what I've done essentially is created software that assists that process and gives structure around that and automates a lot of that complexity for you.
Yeah, so it takes the complex parts of running a business into this is what you need to do to drive sales growth.
And what the high-frequency staff and I do is we act as an independent voice to the client, whoever they are. I don't really care. But like a non-vested interest perspective for them. And so they can ask, okay, John, like, you know, you hooked us up with this agency that does this, you know, how's it going from your perspective? You know, and I can sort of be that person that they come to for that advice. I do this with structured advisory boards as well.
And what are the wins you've had with high-frequency clients at the moment?
Yeah, so a lot of I'm still building out the tactical execution arm, which is really big, but I've been doing live testing with all my clients on that, and it's actually really effective. So, for example, last night, one of my clients sold $11.9 million of artwork, right? And yeah, look, the thing that I do for them is I hook them up with, it's very simple. Well, I can kind of talk about this, but we used basically 2 channels out of 48, and very, very, very effective, combined with some other things that they're doing to support the sales process. But it's basically just Google Ads and Google optimization for that client.
So that's the thing, picking the right channel that'll work for someone versus doing everything.
We call it channel market fit, right? In the SaaS or software world, very important. Different sectors and different services will be better at certain channels will be better at furthering that goal than others, you know, and that's what we're talking about. Like, is TikTok relevant for like a tradie, for example? Yeah, you might be able to use it in a particular way, but would it be?
I would argue yes.
Yeah, it could be, sure. Okay, we've got constraints. Like, what's working right now? Oh, your referral network's working. Well, why don't you expand your referral network? Okay, is it probably worth your time an hour a week? Like, it's dedicating some time to that, or getting someone else to dedicate time to that? Yes, it's already working. Like, double down on it. You know, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Don't get distracted by the shiny objects.
It's like me. My podcast group is working for me right now. I'm building a really good community of people that you know, wanting to start shows, and in that how to start a podcast group. And yeah, people ask me questions, and I'm getting phone calls, you know, appointments off that. So why don't double down in that and provide
community building? Yeah, it's really critical. We do this in software a lot. Community building, again, really resource intensive to manage, as you probably noticed. You need to moderate the groups and like get people on board and get them engaged all the time, right? But yeah, it has a non-linear sort of effect with that, and you'll start to see traction and be very valuable. So,
cool. All right, and so this bit I want to call Get to Know John. Okay. We've talked a lot about what you do and thing. So if you were to go back to your career, you're just about to leave TVC world. So you've got that experience, and now you're moving into the medium services game.
Yep.
What advice would you give John of that age and now you're at this point?
Sorry, the TVC.
Sorry, I probably confused you. What advice would you give younger John about business now that you know what you know now?
Oh yeah, sure. That's always a nice thing to be privy to. But yeah, look, if I was starting out again, you know, the best thing about business, and like, you know, I'm formally trained at university in marketing and strategic marketing in particular. But I think, you know, it's a very practical craft. So just get involved straight away at whatever level you can, right? Get your hands dirty. And then from there, you'll be a really good experience, number one. Number two, you'll find out what you're better at and what you like. And don't be afraid to fail at things and do them really badly, right? But if you're not in the mix, you're not exposed to the market, you're not going to be seeing things that may interest you in the future. So, I mean, I did have that experience at university. I was working in a marketing research firm. I was the person on the street knocking on doors, getting people to fill out surveys in the supermarket, you know, on the footpath, getting them to fill out things. I was there recording notes as the focus group is going on and being moderated by the moderator. So, like, very practical. I was there logging the data into SPSS, that kind of thing. So that was one of my first jobs. So yeah, look, I would say, yeah, move with the market, be flexible would be my advice, and just get your hands dirty.
What's the most rewarding thing about what you do?
Well, it used to be seeing my clients like grow, right? But then, you know, I was very effective at that. I'm like, oh, why am I spending all my time growing other people's businesses, right? Can be a bit self-defeating. But I think, I still enjoy that to an extent, but I'm more focused on now like a bigger impact, maybe democratizing access to my knowledge to a lot of people. And I think when I see businesses turn around and they get traction with their business and it alleviates some of the anxiety they have in their life, that's really rewarding. I really like seeing that and the confidence growing in them. And I think I'm just there to show them, hey, this is the path, stick to it. It's okay. Yeah, it sucks at the beginning, but, this is what we should focus on. And I really like seeing that progression from something small to something big.
Who are your mentors that you look up to, and what's one bit of advice they've given to you that sticks with you today?
Yeah, look, I'll be honest, I probably haven't been as good on the mentor side of things as I should have. Recently have started paying for a mentor. It's a lady. She's very good at strategic planning. And we have calls once a fortnight, once a month. Really good. She keeps me on track and just like, how would I approach these problems? How would I fix them? And she lends her wisdom to me. And, we've been having calls as well, just keep each other on task every week as well. And
every day.
Yeah, I tell you what I'm trying to complete today. And then there's that accountability.
Actually, I'll tell people about it. Every about 9 o'clock, 9:30, we'll call each other and we go, hey, what are you going to do today? And you'll say, I'm doing this. I'll say, I'm doing this. Cool. I'll call you at 4 o'clock and see how it's going.
Yeah, it's just
it's amazing what you'll do at 3:30.
And it's like when you're in lockdown or freelancing, for example, you don't have that person on your side. And if you're running your own business, you don't have that discipline, right? And you help keep me on track, and then I can be honest about, oh shit, actually I didn't get that done today. Crap, But at least I tried, right? At least someone I know is gonna like go, okay, that's fine, but what are you gonna do tomorrow? Like, what was your roadblock? Cool. Well, at least think about that pragmatically. Look, mentors, I think, leverage their wisdom and invest in your mentoring network, right? And just be really careful who you choose, I think. There's a lot of coachy sort of people out there, which is great. But, the best mentors are going to be very time-poor people who are very good at what they do, and they're not going to have much spare time, right? So if you're a full-time coach, that's a red flag for me, right? If you want a business mentor, for example. Look, I would be investing in and finding someone that you think can provide a lot of value to you, and that is probably going to say no, right? That's the person you want.
That's good. Yeah, that's good. I'm glad you didn't say no to me.
I said, I'm really busy, but yeah.
I'll come and have a kebab in Oakley, sure.
Yeah.
I like kebabs.
Yeah.
When you're not working, what do you like to do?
I've been pretty bad at this because, you can get really involved in business, and I do enjoy it.
My business is my hobby.
Yeah, and you enjoy it, right?
Yeah.
But I have found it can manifest itself in like distractive ways, and you really need like some balance in your life. So you do the opposite of what you do. So if you stare at a computer screen or on the phone all day, you need to dedicate some spare time to just doing nothing, right? I mean, just lying on the grass out in the sun if it's sunny, and going down the beach. I swim a lot. That's my kind of like boring thing. I hate it. It's boring. Keeps me fit though. And when I'm swimming, I'm shut off from everything else, right? I'm just hearing the waves of the water motion. I'm turning, I'm puffing. And but subconsciously, I am kind of thinking about things and solving problems. So I think, what I enjoy doing is physical activity, getting the outdoors. And it's the sort of yin and yang balance that I need.
Yeah. Now I know you're not an inspirational quote poster. I've never seen you put one up.
Well, I did give you a quote. Best marketing doesn't feel like marketing.
Well, that was going to be my question. Is what's your quote you'd like to live by? If there is that one. The best marketing doesn't feel like marketing.
Oh, geez, a quote I want to live by.
Or you like to,
You know what? I've been reading Marcus Aurelius recently. Lots of good quotes in there, right? And I think. And this comes up in the Silence of the Lambs, that scene where Jodie Foster's, interviewing, what's his name?
Hannibal Lecter?
Yeah, Hannibal Lecter. Yeah. I forget his name. Anyway, interviewing, and he says, Marcus Aurelius, what is it? What is this thing? What is its nature? What is its being? And I think, this comes down to diagnosis when I meet clients, and it's really good in business. Like, what is that person? What makes them tick? What's behind that person or that business? and using that and thinking about that in more detail. So a little quote, what is it? What is it being? That's my kind of inspirational thing.
Love it. How do people reach out to you? So someone's listening along, they want to drive sales and revenue growth, and they need to have a chat.
Sure.
What's the best way to reach out?
Probably, because I've got hundreds of emails. Don't email me. Too many calls. Don't call me. I think just like PM me on, or private message me on LinkedIn. John, second name James, the guy wearing the suit in black and white is my picture. That's probably the best way. And then, let's just have a conversation via phone or Zoom, and I'll see if there's some alignment.
Yeah.
That's probably the best way.
Awesome. Well, John, thanks for coming on. I hope
pleasure.
There's been some value in that. I know there has been from my point of view.
We didn't go too deep on the details, but if you want to go there next time, we can go there.
We will do that. Don't worry. We'll come on for part 2. And thanks for coming on.
Thank you.